The story here centers on a recovering drug addict called Darby. She's disillusioned with rehab, but when she receives a call from the hospital revealing her mother is suffering from a brain aneurysm, she decides to bust out, stealing a car in the process. Unfortunately, a blizzard forces her to take refuge at an isolated highway rest stop high up in the mountains. When Darby discovers a van parked outside holding a little girl in the back, gagged and bound, she realizes one of a rabble of different characters inside the rest stop is responsible. But who? How does Darby figure out who is the kidnapper? After finding the girl, whom we later find out is called Jay, bound and gagged in the van, Darby heads inside the rest stop and ends up playing bullshit with the other characters around a table. This allows Darby to ask some pressing questions to each of the potential culprits, including Ed, who happens to be an ex-military man. Likewise, she also asks Lars about where he's from. He casually mentions he's from Nevada, which is where the reg plate is licensed outside. It's here Darby realizes that Lars is the kidnapper. Is Lars working alone? Darby realizes she needs to outsmart Lars, so she asks Ash for help. This charismatic guy was initially asleep on a bench when she first showed up, and she puts her trust in him. However, Ash is actually working with Lars. What are Lars and Ash planning? Lars and Ash are actually both traffickers, working for a guy known as Uncle Kenny. He's their foster father and the pair are siblings. He's warped their ideology into believing they're doing right by their victims, giving them a better home. What is Sandi's stake in all this? It turns out Sandi Lowray was actually working as Jay's maid and heard the girl being kidnapped. Given she humiliated and embarrassed her, making Sandi dance with a vacuum cleaner, she actually worked with the brothers. Sandi's motivation stems from her dire financial situation, and she was promised a big payday. Ed actually knew nothing about this plan, and with their savings and future gone, she tried to fix that by working with Ash and Lars, blackmailing the family for a payday. However, she was swindled in the process, not realizing the brothers were actually human traffickers. Who dies at the rest stop? Ash shoots Sandi and Ed dead. Lars is pepper sprayed in the face while Darby has her wrist nailed to the wall. With everything looking grim, Ash shows up and reveals that Darby's mum has passed away, courtesy of a text message coming through. Interestingly, the signal also returns for the message to the police to go through too, with the cops driving up to help. Realizing this, Lars and Ash want Darby's car keys. With Jay's wrist on course to being shattered, Darby reveals she's left the keys in the snow at the back of the stop. While Ash is gone, Darby works to stop Lars. Jay turns the light off, Darby uses the hammer to break off her nailed hand, and she holds up Lars at gunpoint. When Ash returns, he accidentally shoots Lars in the head with the nail gun. With Lars collapsing on the floor dead, Ash and Jay scramble out the front door and try to drive away. However, Ash pummels Darby's car with a barrage of nails. The tire is punctured, and Darby crashes into the front sign. What happens with the police? Ash burns the house just as the police show up. Darby shoots Ash down, leading the police officer to then shoot Darby. That, in turn, leads Ash to shoot the officer dead. Darby is still alive though, and she eventually stabs Ash and manages to stop him. Jay is still alive through all of this too, and as she calls out for help, Darby crawls up to the officer and uses his radio to call for backup, preferably backup that won't shoot her dead. How does no exit end? Darby recovers from her injuries, as does Jay too. Darby is back in rehab and sticking it out this time. She's been there for 48 days, and Evan, her sister, shows up to see her. It seems Darby's ordeal has caused her to rethink her life, a reminder that life is precious. This is a message that's reflected by the sudden and shocking deaths of both Ed and Sandi, along with Lars and Ash too. Seeing these guys all losing their life and barely holding on to her own in the process is enough for her to honor her mom's life and her own, and stick it out through rehab to get clean. Thanks for listening. Ending Explained. What did you think of the ending? Do you think there will be a sequel? Let us know your thoughts in the comments box.